Yep. So with respect to recording, we'll be recording a lot of this meeting because we're going to get into some of the logistics of how to get onto the Engage platform. We're leaning against recording future meetings because we want to make sure it's a really open forum for discussion. Happy to talk about that if there's any, kind of counterpoints to that. But we want to make sure that it's a space where everybody can really speak freely, and recording can limit that. So we will be recording this meeting, and we can talk about recording again, a later date if anybody has objections to that. But we'll store this on the Engage platform, I believe, is where this recording will live. And so this will provide an opportunity for others that can't make it because not the whole committee is able to attend this first meeting. So in terms of how we got here, I would say how we got here is that we have heard over and over again from the biosphere industry that standards are a significant problem for the industry, particularly in the United States. That is reflected in the fact that there are very few laboratories that provide biochar analysis service. There's also a lot of variability when the existing standards are used between different labs. There's a lot of variability in the same biochar sample being analyzed by different labs can come up with different results. So there clearly is a significant need. And, we at USBI were really interested in addressing that need. And we essentially combined forces with Chris Weiberg and ASABE to kind of bring this project forward. We started this process back in, I would say, June with something that we called the Initial Development Committee. That was a subset of you all. About half of this group was involved in that committee. And the goal there was really to scope the full project. And by scope, I mean really identify some boundaries for what this committee would be, what the standard would actually be. And what we came to in that discussion is that we wanted to make a standard that was developed through a formal process, which is this ASABE process to develop an ANSI standard. So we wanted to use a formal standards development process with an organization like ASABE. We wanted to make sure that was a fully open process. And a big part of what we want to do is make sure that this was primarily a laboratory standard at this point. So an analysis standard, not so much an end use standard. Clearly end use standards are needed, but I think we all agreed as part of that initial development committee that we're probably not there yet in the industry to go delineate a whole bunch of thresholds and ranges for different end use markets, for sort of like what biochar thresholds and standards would apply to any given end use market. So what we came to is that we want to make a laboratory standard that applies to all biochars. And that standard would have a core set of analyses that would apply to all biochar, and then a bunch of optional analyses that would apply to biochar that are used in different end use markets. We hope to not have thresholds and ranges for those end use markets, and rather just focus on the analysis methods that are needed for those end use markets. So that's more or less the concept that we came to. We developed a few documents during that initial development committee process, and those will be uploaded on the ASABE platform. Those kind of provide some background of what the initial development committee kind of came to. And we can clearly revisit some of those discussions, but we hope that we can move forward, mostly from there rather than kind of rediscussing a lot of that stuff that we already discussed, even though clearly only half of you were on that group. But that's kind of what we came to in that initial development committee, was a standard for all biochars that is primarily a laboratory standard. So that's kind of where we are. Happy to take any questions, but if not, I think we could move forward from there. Chris?
All right. And so the kind of the description of the final project scope is outlined in the project proposal form. So one of the deliverables of that initial development committee was to create a project proposal form that could be submitted to ASABE to launch the project. And so was that circulated, Miles, with the invite?
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe all of you should have a copy of that.
Right. So if you want to know what we came to as far as the consensus from the initial development committee, just take a review of the scope of the project proposal form that should have been received with your invites. And that gives you a really good indication of what we're trying to do. Now, that said, the project proposal form was submitted to ASABE, which opened the door to create our committee, which is called X668 through the ASABE infrastructure. That includes use of their Engage platform, and there's a bit to know about it. And the only way to get to know it is to be on it. And so one of the things we've been asking everybody is to get enrolled. And there's two options for enrollment. One, of course, is to become an ASABE member. And ASABE loves members because it's an additional level of supporting the overall ASABE organization. So, of course, highly encourage that anybody wishing to become a member would go ahead and do so. I know Tom Miles has been a member for about 40 plus years. I can only claim membership for maybe 10 or 12 years. But you know, it is a very value-added organization, and I have not regretted my participation and membership. That said, anybody who doesn't feel the desire to become a member, you do not have to become a member. You can enroll as a non-member, and we have multiple emails sent out with the form. So there is a process that you need to fill out and get it submitted to ASABE so that they can enroll you. Once you're enrolled, you will have access to the X668 committee documents and all of our work items, but also to the overall Engage platform. And so the next thing I'd like to do is turn it over to Jean and or Brittany to give that tutorial about the Engage platform.
Okay, thanks, Chris. So what I'd first like to do, I'm going to share my screen here and bring up our website. Let me see if I can't make that any larger, so hopefully everyone can see this. So ASABE has almost 300 or at least 300 different committees and technical communities. So the easiest way to get to the Engage platform, you can go straight to it, or what I like to do is I go to asabe.org because I can actually remember that URL. And I log in. Here's your little login button. You'll each get your own personal login and ID. So you'll be logging in with the ID that you are provided by Brittany, as she's processing all of your applications, and your specific password. And so that will let you into not only the website, but also the Engage platform. If you log into the website, you automatically are logged into the Engage platform by just clicking this link up here at the top, and it will open a separate tab. The first time you come in, you'll have a splash page with all of their appropriate use information. That's Higher Logic is the owner of the platform. So you scroll down to the bottom, accept everything. We trust that you're all going to be appropriate. Everyone's been here. And then this is the page that you will come to. So a few of the things that you're going to want to do first and foremost, I would say, is to scroll down here. We have some links, but the most important one is the video tutorials. So you're going to have this video hopefully on your platform, but if you ever need any more a deeper instruction, because I'm just doing a really quick overview, you click on the video tutorials. It takes you to a YouTube playlist, and we have it broken out. So the first thing to do is setting up your account, and that's just a short, less than 2 minutes. It tells you where to go, how to do that. Another important one is the communication option. And that is, how do you send an email? How do you communicate with your team? There are a couple of ways to do that, with using your own email service, using the threads or discussion option on the platform, or just replying to an email that was sent to you via the platform. The other important one is going to be using the library. The library is going to be the archive of all of your information, and we'll be setting up folders to hopefully try and keep some of your information sorted so it's easier to find. but you should be able to upload information directly into the library yourself or to download it from that library. So again, that link for the video tutorials is going to be really important. And you can go back and watch them as many times as needed. So when you get there, obviously video tutorials is going to be important, but I want to walk you through a couple of the options. First thing you're going to do, I have my picture up here. This is my account, but you'll see a little silhouette at the top. This is how you will get to your profile. You can get to your profile from here, or you can get to your profile from this quick link down here. So you go to your profile, fill out whatever pertinent information you wish to share. I don't care what you do, you know, this is just for this group right here. And so if you don't want to put anything in there at this point, that's fine. I do want to point out a few things that you will want to make sure that you are aware of. Under my contributions, it will show my list of contributions. This is very important because this will show everything you personally have uploaded or done regarding the platform. If you're sending an email, it will be listed here. If you're uploading a document, it will be listed here. And this is important for a specific reason, which I'll get into in a short bit. But if you just want to go and say, did I upload that? I can't remember. You can just go and kind of scroll through. You see, I do a lot of uploading as part of my job. So under my contributions, my list of contributions, I wouldn't worry about the other things there. Another area to look is my account. Now, this is something I do want you to check once you log in for the first time, just to verify. Go down to community notifications, and you will see, takes a little bit to think. Once you get to this page, you will see a list of any committees that you're on. This one probably will be the only one unless you choose to join the 238 US tag, or we do have a few self-join committees in there you might be interested in. For each committee that you are listed on the roster, you will have an option of no email, real-time email, or daily digest. So depending on your preferences, we encourage real-time email so that if someone in your group sends an email out, you will get it immediately. But your work traffic might be such that you want whatever is coming through during this day, all of the discussion that your people are having, you want it all at once in one daily dump, then you would select, daily digest. If you choose not to receive emails, which means you won't be notified of anything that's happening, you'll have to go seek it out. You can select no email. And again, that is your preference. It's going to depend on how active you wish to be on this group and what your desire to actually receive the emails and the scale of that. If you choose not to receive emails, then it's on you to go into the Engage platform and to actually seek out the committee itself, logging in and going there. Now I'm going to put in the search. I'm just going to put biochar here. I have 300 committees listed, so you will see one when you come up. So here you see it says X668 biochar, and this says this is the library of. You can either sort to the communities or just go over here and select view community. Another way for you to access this is to go to the committees and communities at the top, pull this down. If I pull it down, you'll see everything I'm on. You should only see this one. So that's another easy way for you to get there. We have just a notice of the meeting here that Brittany posted, and we have some basic information at the top. We've got Chris as the project lead, and this is the email that you will use to communicate with each other. There is a section for events, which we have not yet utilized, but as Brittany noted, she's still in training. We haven't gotten to this part yet, but I'm going to have her set up this meeting, your reoccurring meeting, as an event. So you'll get a reminder about that automatically from the system. Here's a list of members that are currently listed on the committee. This is not going to be your full list because we're still waiting on a lot of responses, and Brittany is still working through some that came in the last 2 days. So once she gets you processed, she will send you your notification of your password and your login ID, and then update you on this. Now, as you notice here, it does not tell you who is in charge, which is why on the community homepage, we did identify Chris as being the person in charge. But if you were to go, you want to talk to Chris, for example, you want to send him an email, you can go to this member list and you can click on his name and you can send him an email. There's, you have his email right there. And that is a way to send him an email. Here it just popped up in my Outlook. So that's one way if you want to directly email another individual. Let's see if I can get back to, there we go. So I want you to just kind of talk about the emails quickly. As I pointed out here on the community home, this is the committee email. So if you were to take this, copy it, and again, open up your own personal email service, whatever it happens to be, and put this in there, obviously fill in your subject, et cetera, et cetera. This will go to every single member on that list. So if you want to send to an individual person, go to the member list, select that person. If you want to send a notice to everyone, part of a discussion, keep the discussion going, as it was pointed out, you want to have as much transparency as possible, just send to this email here. If you are to attach anything, if you want to send a document or several documents to the members, you can attach them to your email and they will automatically be placed in the library. I'm just going to pop over here quickly. So in the library, we've put just a couple of basic folders. And I believe we're going to be given a list of how your group wants to sort everything, and then we can help you with that. But if you put any documents in your emails as attachments, the email attachments will go into the main folder here. And I do want to caution you because all of the attachments that you put into a single email will stay together. We cannot separate them. So this is something that we learned the hard way when we first got this program a year ago. And so what the staff has found is a much easier way to deal with this is we would go into a specific folder. Let's say we're going to go into the drafts folder, and we would create the entry right in the drafts folder. And you do have the option of doing that. And the directions on the tutorials will tell you how to create your entry. Creating an entry is very easy. It's fill in the blanks for the most part. And then you can select which folder you would like to place your document into. So an example, I want to send out an email, but I want to also notify you, here are the minutes from our last meeting, but here is a document to support a discussion that we had during the meeting. If you want to keep them together, fine, put them in the same email and send them out. But if you would like that document to go into a separate folder that just has support information and the meeting minutes to go into a folder with meeting minutes, I would highly recommend that you upload those separately. And then in your email, make a note to your members saying, I have uploaded these to the library and here's where you can find them in these folders. Which is basically how we are doing it as staff, simply because we don't want to have the documents tied directly to that email, because it just gets kind of messy when you have multiple things. So that's one issue with emails. Let's get back to threads. You can put your email directly to the person via members. You can copy the email address, put it into your personal email service and send an email to everyone. Or you can go into the Engage platform and you can select threads. And here it says start a new thread. You see the first email that Brittany sent out is considered a thread. So we're going to start a new thread. And again, it's an email to your group. So you can put your subject in there. Let's see, automatic content. And you can put your text in there. And then I want to show you something that is important. So if you're drafting an email, you don't have time to complete it, you want to gather some additional documents, and you want to save that draft, you can select Save Draft. Oh, my process is not working. Let's try this again. Test. Here we go, Save Draft. Okay, so I've saved my draft, but I look at this list of emails and my draft is no longer there. I have no idea where it went. This was a real tricky one for us to figure out, but I want to show you. Go up to your profile. And remember, we talked about the my contributions. Go into my list of contributions, and there's your draft email. So this is one of those little niggly tricks that it's really important to keep in mind.
That one has a low T, so the pole snake doesn't have a very big mouth. So
could somebody please mute? Thank you. So if you go into your draft email, you can complete your draft, you can add attachments, etc. You can save it again, or you can schedule for it to go out at a later date or time. Again, if you schedule it, it's going to go back into your My Contributions until it actually goes out. In this case, I am just going to delete that since I don't need to send anything out to your committee. And now I need to go back, see if it takes me back to the biochar. Maybe not. There we go. Okay, so that deals with a couple of the ways that you can communicate using the emails and the threads. Another way is to go to an email that was sent to you. You have the option here to reply. I have many options because I'm an administrator, but you'll have an option to reply, which means you reply to everyone, or to reply privately, which means you're replying only to Brittany in this case. If you reply privately, it goes to the sender. If you just hit reply, it goes to everyone. So if you're having a discussion on a topic, I would highly suggest that you just select reply on that thread. It keeps all that information together. Again, it goes out to everyone in your group, and that way you can all be aware of the conversation when you read your emails, whether you get them daily or real time, or you come and select them yourself. So another thing I want to point out is the workspace. Once we start with the actual development of this project, we're going to be using workspace, that tab, for the balloting section. Now, the workspace tab is totally separate from the rest of these tabs here. The workspace will show its own roster. And on that roster, we actually do identify voting members, and we will identify Chris as the chair or project lead as well in this one. And then we will have documents that are posted not from your library. They don't transfer over. We will post specific documents here. We'll create a folder for your project, and we will put up your draft, the draft standard that you're going to be reviewing and voting on, and possibly some other documents that you may need to use for your ballot. It may be some comments, comment resolutions, etc. Those will all be filed up here and then accessed through the ballot itself. And that ballot will again be found in the workspace. We don't have one in here, but you'll get very explicit directions on how to come in here and find that. What we have found is that we will keep, it's best to keep all of the ballot information together. So we'll post your ballot here, we'll post all the documents here, we'll post the results of your ballot here. And we can also send an email that goes to your list of emails or threads that tells you your documents are going to be located here, and we will send links to those documents in the workspace. So you should have access to everything. So I think that is just a broad overview of the Engage platform. Are there any questions that I can answer right now?
We do have one in the chat that says, will the event function as a calendar invite or just as an email?
It will be an email that will remind you that you have an activity that's been planned. It does not send out a specific calendar invite, but what we try to do is Brittany will also send out an email with an iCalendar attachment to it that you can then open up and save to your personal calendar. I mean, the meetings that are planned right now, I believe, are reoccurring every 2 weeks, and that should already have gone out, and that should already be on your calendar. So she may need to send that out again for anyone who has not seen it. The value of having the event on here is not only will it have the login information, you do have to log into it to get to it, but it will send you a reminder that you do have this coming up as well, just in case you didn't get it on your calendar. I do want to say this has been a great platform for us to use. The only downside that I have with it is that in order to use it, you have to sign in for everything. You'll get an email with, say, an attachment on it. You cannot download the attachment until you sign in to Engage. So what we try to do is provide a link to the Engage site in all the emails we send. So you can quickly log into your homepage here, and then you can go ahead and click the link to download any attachments that we send or get into a ballot or any documents that we have uploaded. So that is really the only downside that I have found. It gets a bit ponderous to have to do that. So I would suggest that if you are planning on working on your project here, maybe sign in. The sign-in seems to last pretty much all day. So you can sign in and then you can be in and out with whatever work you're trying to do or downloads you're trying to take care of at that time. So again, nothing we can do about that, I'm afraid. Any other questions? Okay.
All right. And I will just offer up. So I've been using the Engage site since its inception, I guess. It's a year old. And for ISO TC 238, it's been the active platform for about a year now. And even the prior platform before Engage, it's not overly encumbering to use. Everything essentially flows through your existing email. It's whichever email you register with. So make sure that I've got my personal email, I've got my work email. Make sure you register with the email where you want the traffic. So it's for me, it's my work email. And whenever somebody creates a thread and sends it out, it pops up in my personal or in my company email. So I don't have to go looking for it. It's automatically there where I'm going to be monitoring email anyway. And I just respond to it directly through my email, and I don't have to go into Engage to respond. It just kind of automatically links. Whenever there are documents and or ballots, they do come through your email. And yes, you do have to click the link to go into the Engage to be able to do it. But I've got my password and user codes saved into the computer. So as soon as I hit it, my username and password populate automatically, and I just hit go, and it brings me right in. So even though you have that extra step, it doesn't take a lot of time. You're not always trying to remember your password and login credentials. So it's and as you click through the different drop downs and things, the first blush is like, okay, here's another thing I've got to learn. It's not as hard as it might seem. It's as soon as you get a little bit of time in it, it'll start to make sense. And it generally is relatively simple. You know, it's just a matter of it's something new and you got to learn how to manage the new aspect of it. So
Thanks, Chris. It's good to get that feedback.
yeah. All right.
Okay,
well,
so moving on then.
Yes, thank you, Gene. I really appreciate it. So the next part, I'd like to kind of just go over the standards development process. So I'm sure there's probably several of you who have been involved in standards development in the past, and maybe that's through an ISO committee, or maybe it's through ASTM or any number of other organizations. Let's talk about the process for ASABE, because that is the process we're formally following. So ASABE, the process starts with what we call that project proposal form. And it's a breakdown of exactly what is the project, what's it going to cover, what's the scope, who is it affected, who does it affect, all these different things. It's a couple of pages long. It's not overly detailed and encumbering in its content and scope. But it has to be enough so that once submitted, ASABE's ES03 committee can review it and say, hey, this makes sense. You know, it enters that first review process. So I think it was on July 11th, we had our last committee meeting where we finalized our project proposal form. Assumably later that day or the next day, it was formally submitted to ES03. So it's probably nearing the 30-day mark now for how long it's been in the hands of the ES03 committee. They generally post it as a ballot and then have 30 days to review. And during that time, what they're trying to verify is there other work that's going on that might be redundant? You know, does some other group already have a project of this nature started? And if that's the case, then they would say, no, there's a conflicting work. We're not going to authorize this project. We're not anticipating that to come back and in any kind of detrimental way. We're expecting it to be approved. While we wait, we're still free to start having these discussions to get everything set up. We could even be writing our standard right now. So we're kind of free to get going. And so that's what we're doing. We're trying to make use of the time while we're waiting for the ES03 committee to give us their thumbs up. At the same time, yes, Gene.
So are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Would you like me to go through the process quickly?
If you like.
Okay, as Chris noted, the project proposal form, or we call it the PPF, has been submitted to the O3. I believe that the current ballot closes out later next week. I was looking, and we may be short a few votes right now. If we don't have the appropriate number of votes, we'll extend that ballot a little bit, which is not really a problem. At the same time, we did post to ANSI. This is going to be an ANSI project, so it's going to be endorsed by ANSI when it's finished. It's an American National Standard. So we did post what's called a project initiation form, or a PINS, and that was publicly noted just last Friday, and that opens up a 30-day public review period. So we have this time to wait to see if anyone in the netherworld, usually the United States, has started a similar project. If they have the opportunity to challenge us starting this, and then we have to work things out. That has only happened twice to me in 10 years, so I think we're probably going to be good. Once the O3 committee has given its approval and this PINS open period has finished, you can really get your draft development underway. And it's okay to get that started while you're waiting, as Chris has said. You've already started that. You've got a lot of the basics done, and you're still gathering your team and getting everyone set up for this. So as you work through the process, we do want to encourage regular reviews of the information that you're putting out, especially if it's highly technical in the testing area that I know that's the way you're going, because you want to try to identify any and every problem that you might run into. And this is where your expertise really comes into play. If you have formulas, which I'm sure you will, and various processes and references, please verify everything to make sure it works. There have been several times where someone has assumed that a formula has worked without necessarily testing it. And when someone went to use the standard, they found out it was in error, and we had to do a complete revision because of that one problem. So I really do encourage committees who are developing a standard, especially with formulas, to test those out very thoroughly, have multiple people testing to make sure everything works. Once your document is well developed and you are all satisfied and ready to move forward, then it goes to the consensus body of your group, and this is the group that will decide whether or not it becomes an approved standard or not. You'll have an official ballot, which we will also notify to ANSI that you're doing, and there will be a 45-day open public review period where anyone in the country can request a copy of the draft and can comment on it, just as you might be commenting on anything that you find during your ballot. One thing I do want to point out, at this point, we're getting a lot of people in, and I'm not sure if Brittany's noting them as voting members or observing members. And at this point, it really is not going to matter as we get started. Before we go to this balloting period, Brittany and I will do a review with Chris and Tom and Miles to identify those who are best suited for the voting positions. We have to consider a couple of things. First, we have to consider the interest area balance. ANSI requires that no one interest area, whether it's producers or research or academia or users, has an advantage. So we have to be fairly well balanced in how many representatives we have from each of those groups. So you are being asked that on the form that you are sending in to us. So that's one thing we have to do. Another thing that will be a determining factor in the voting body that will actually make the final decision is your participation. So while we may have 30 people or more on this development group, not all of you will be actually voting, because some of you, due to other responsibilities possibly, or not a strong interest, may not be participating in these regular calls that will be held. And it's really important that anyone who wishes to be considered for a voting position participate as fully as possible. If you can't participate in one of the scheduled meetings, please do notify Chris or Brittany that you cannot make it, so that you can be marked down as excused. I've had too many projects where people sign on because it's a great idea, great project, but life overwhelms them and they forget to put it on their calendar and they miss that. And then they come in at the very end, and the comments that they propose are all things that have already been discussed ad nauseum and decided by the previous group, and it really hangs up the project. So if you want to be part of this project, you do need to participate as fully as possible and stay on top of the development that is happening. So once we have the ballot closed, there will be comments, most likely, hopefully just small tweaks to correct a few editorial issues or maybe some technical issues. If there are technical issues that have to be corrected, we will start that whole ballot process over again once all the comments are addressed and adjustments are made to the draft. If we only have editorial comments, we can move on to that. Your document is then considered approved with editorial changes. We forgot a period, we had to put in a comma or a dash. Changing a formula is a technical change. Changing a reference is a technical change. Changing a numerical value is a technical change. So if in the whole document, the only problem is that it should be 0.4 instead of 0.3, we go through the whole ballot process again. So that's why I say check all of those values early on. Once we get everything addressed, we go through the ballot process again, if necessary, which includes the 45-day notice through ANSI. And when we can get through a ballot without having any technical changes, we go back to the oversight committee, which we call the O3 committee. It's ES03, and they will do the review not of your document, but of the process that we went through in order to approve your document. They will verify that your document follows the project proposal scope that was noted at the beginning. They will look at the balance of the voting members that we talked about, the interest areas, to make sure that no one interest area overwhelms any of the others. They will make sure that all of the comments that you submitted have been appropriately addressed and accepted. And they will make sure that all of the notifications to ANSI have been documented and completed. And once they finish their ballot and have approved your document, then we do submit to ANSI a verification of the completion of the process. That usually takes about a week in order to come back, and then we can publish your document. That only takes another week or so, depending on how much editing to clean up tables and things needs to happen. So this is our overall basics in a visual, and I have some documents that I'll be posting on your site that have some text that explain some other things relating to the process itself. Now, this is important. This is going to be our comment template. I've got instructions on here, and this will be posted up there as well. When we have a ballot or even a review, the easiest way to note your comments is not you taking a Word document, putting all your track changes in and sending it to Chris, because he can't deal with 30 people doing that. That just does not work. So what you'll do is you'll need to fill out this form in which you'll put your initials right here so that he knows who this is coming from. You'll identify what clause your comment is addressing. You will identify what type of comment it is. Is it a technical comment? Is it dealing with a value of some sort or a technical requirement? Or is it just editorial? You need a comma. Then you'll write down your comment in this box. And this box, your proposed change, is how do you want to see that changed? What exactly do you want it to say? You'll leave this blank because this is where Chris will write any of the results of the discussion. You'll get together, you'll discuss the comment, you'll discuss the proposed change, you'll look at the document, and he will document what the final decision is in this box. Now, the reason we're using these is because all 30 or 40 people from this committee will have comments. You send them all in, and we have a tool that will collate them. So we will provide a single comment template, which will have all of your comments included. It will be in the proper order based on your clause or subclause. So if there are 3 comments for section 2 or 3 comments for section 3.7, they will show up in order. So you're not jumping all over the place as you're addressing those. So this is a tool that we use, and you will be using this as part of the process, because when you are providing your comments in a ballot, this is required. If you do not submit your comments on this form, they will not be considered. If you submit your comments in track changes on a Word document, we'll send it back to you and have you redo it. So you don't want to get into that. I want to show you one other. This is just a brief sample of what you will see at the end of your document. This is called our ballot summary, where we say which committee is receiving this, and we talk about what ballot it was. This happened to be for the approval of a document. This was the final approval ballot, actually. We note how many people were required to vote up here and how many people actually voted in the breakdown. And then here you'll see a list of each individual and how they voted. And then here, this is, I just put this in to give you some sample of the interest areas: producer, academia, user, and we will have those identified as well. In this case, the voting roll, these are all representatives from different communities, but in yours, it will be voter. Non-voters will not be listed on here, only voters will show up. So those are just a few of the things that we will be sharing online. I put these, like I said, on the document or the Engage portal with like training tools or something like that in a folder, so you can go and look at these at your leisure, hopefully answering some additional questions for you. Do we have any questions on any of these? Okay. Well, I do want to let you know that at any time, if you have any questions about the process that we're going through or how you get to something, you can't log in, etc., you're always welcome to email myself or Brittany, and we'll be happy to help you. We're happy to help walk you through. If you're really confused by the platform and you need a private tutorial, we can do that as well. So don't hesitate to call.
All right, thank you, Jean. And Brittany, I think we can go ahead and discontinue